Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Doing Life with Ken and Tabitha. I got a great friend of mine in the house with me today, none other than the best-selling author by faith in Jesus' name, fastest growing church in America before the pandemic, after the pandemic, my good friend Stephen Chandler. What's up, homie?
What's going on, man? It's
You
good to be with you.
Good to be with you as well, man. You got a new book.
Got a new book.
Stop waiting for permission. And I want you to tell me a little bit about why'd you write this, man? What this is about.
Well, so we were friends at the time. I was 5 years into ministry, and the church had not grown in 2.5 years. And bro, I was ready to quit. I was just like, all the insecurity that comes when your dreams aren't coming to pass.
Right.
So I'm just like, man, maybe I'm not the guy. Maybe I'm not gifted. Maybe that's not what God's called me to do. And I'm just trying to find it out, man. I'm like, talk to a big church in town. Can y'all take us on as a campus? Can somebody else come pastor this? I was trying to get out. And God would not let me out for nothing.
Oh, what?
Like, we preach about how God will open doors. We don't talk about how he'll close doors and lock you in a room.
Right.
You ain't getting out of this. And, we all know this in hindsight. But in the moment, I'm just like going through it. But in hindsight, God said, man, I got to do more in you before I can do something through you.
Oh, wow.
So when I couldn't get out of it and God finally built my faith back to where it needed to be, I started to get around some great men and women of God and pastors that were building churches that were ahead of me, unpack this and unpack that and all that other good stuff. And I realized there was some major things I was doing wrong.
Okay.
And I was missing in accomplishing all that God had for me. Like, for example, I did not know what my, not spiritual gift, but my natural gifting is. Everybody has a spiritual gift, but everybody has a natural gift. I call it your unique genius.
Okay.
That is your performance advantage over everybody else.
And if you don't mind, what is your natural gift?
So my spiritual gift is wisdom.
Okay.
And it manifests in the natural. I'll say it this way.
I know you. I wouldn't have guessed that.
Reverse engineering.
Okay.
So here's what that means. I can look at success and the way my brain just works, I can just backtrack the steps from where that success is to where the starting point is. So
And that's your natural gifting?
Natural gifting. Yeah. It's just an analytical engineer's type of mind. My brain just works in steps, in formulas. From when I read scripture to when I look at success, my brain just turns it into a formula, turns it into step 1, step 2, step 3, A plus B equals C type of deal.
That's awesome. What is your greatest weakness, you feel like?
Oh my gosh. Probably discipline.
Yeah.
Which that's not a gifting. I don't think people are gifted with discipline. I think it's something they develop and grow and all that. But weirdly enough, I'm a creative.
Okay.
So I'm a free spirit. I'm a floater. Let's go where the wind is blowing and all that kind of stuff. And in leadership, you can be creative, but if you're inconsistent,
right,
people can't follow inconsistency. Yeah. They need that consistency. So anyway, the book is what I learned on that journey of here are the steps to maximizing all the potential that God's placed inside of you. And it's not just luck. It's not just that one person was more favored by God than somebody else. They actually took trackable steps to get to where they are in their ministry, in their marriage, in their money, in their faith, in every single area of their lives. So the book is, hey, here's step-by-step guide to maximizing any area of your life.
That's awesome. I haven't read it yet, but I am looking forward to
Come on now. I hope it irritates you.
I'm looking forward to it because you're a successful person and successful people always drop keys. And I think mentorship is important.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't really even have to be in the same room to be mentored. If you get a hold of somebody's book.
It's as if you had a week with them.
Yeah. So you have a decade or more of your life's experiences on this couple 100-page book or however long it is.
214 pages.
214. Because you had to read the audio book. Like,
listen,
I've written a book before, by the way, as well.
Come on now.
I know about reading the audio book.
Let's go. There's a chapter in there about being an aggressive learner.
Okay, talk to
where
me
I'm
about
going
that.
to irritate some Christians. But I started talking about P. Diddy. And his story is wild.
Yeah.
He stalked Heavy D for 1.5 years for one conversation.
That seems like P. Diddy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Got the convo and then stalked him for another year just to get Heavy D to keep his word because he said he was going to introduce him to the CEO of the record company, Andre Harrell.
Right.
After he finally meets Andre, he interns for the record company for 2.5 years for free.
I've seen that.
He went to Howard University,
Yeah.
so he's in D.C.
Yeah.
Monday through Thursday, jump on the train, come back up to New York, and New York Thursday through Sunday. After 2.5 years, internship is over. Actually, it was over after a year. And he said, can I still stay and work for free? After 2.5 years, the talent agent at the record company quit. And Andre Harrell said, Diddy, you don't got a shot. I'm not hiring you. Diddy said, cool, can I do it for free until you find a replacement?
He's dropping some wisdom keys here.
Watch this. He's doing it for free. He meets an unknown artist named Mary J. Blige. The rest is history.
Yeah.
And just to see, and that's that. I have a lot of people that are learners, but they're not aggressive.
Right.
Oh, can I trash university for a second?
That's what that story sounds like.
Yeah.
Somebody
It's
that
the
had crazy perseverance.
aggressive side.
Aggressive.
Listen, when you're in school,
Grit.
nothing against school. I got my degree and ran for my life.
Right.
But you're forced to learn when you're in college.
Right.
Classes at this time, the test is at this time. You don't have to be aggressive. You just have to do what you're told.
Right.
But when you're outside of a university setting, the professor is not in his office.
Yeah.
There's no office hours. There's and I say it this way: people that are successful, they know how to work a crumb.
Right.
Think about the woman who needed her daughter healed, and Jesus said, bread is the children. Healing is the children's bread. And she said, Lord, but even the crumbs are left for the dog. She said, I don't need the whole loaf of bread.
Right.
I just need a crumb, and I can get a miracle out of crumb. If you're outrageously successful, God's done great things through your life. You've got people coming up to you, say, Pastor, can I take you out to lunch? Pastor, can I do this? It's not that you don't want to.
Right.
It's just like, man, I've got so many responsibilities. Wife, kids, ministry. I just can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're going to grow, I don't need a lunch.
Right.
I could take that one little insight you gave into your life through your message and work that. I remember Pastor Craig Rochelle posted a video of his sermon prep. I'm talking about Instagram reel. It was like up 5 a.m. and I screenshotted this reel and I looked at the snacks he was eating. I saw his vision board behind him with the upcoming sermon series. I saw all his commentary. I'm just a little weird like that.
Yeah.
And I picked apart just this one reel. I got me the commentaries. I put my sermon board up just like him.
Oh, wow.
I can't eat the snacks that he eat. They taste nasty, but everything else.
But that's the thing I love about you. You're a real learner.
Yeah.
Teachable, real learner, a life learner. I've seen you go from small church, not being known by many people, to very well known with big church. And it has to be that tenacity to go out and learn. Can you, what is your mindset on that?
Well, first of all, I hate my journey.
You said you hate it?
I wish I was overnight success. And I've learned.
The funny thing is people want to be like you.
Listen.
But you hate the journey. Because to everybody else on the outside, it seems like it happens fast. But to you, you're like, I've been grinding at this for a decade.
Because most of it happened, on the backside of the desert.
Right.
You weren't there, so you didn't see.
Yeah.
But this ain't new. I've been doing this for, 17 years plus.
Yeah.
But what I learned was two things. One, tenacity. One, resilience. Just don't quit. And the other thing is, part of the call on God in my life is to help other people maximize their potential.
Okay.
And I'm getting in trouble.
Okay. Get in trouble. Go ahead.
Think about all the greatest athletes, the worst coaches. Jordan, Isaiah, Larry. Trash. Because they were so talented, they didn't have to learn team ball. They didn't have to learn. And because one of the calls of God on my life is to be a teacher, to be a developer, to release people into their purpose, God was kind of like, Stephen, you've got to hit every growth barrier there is, because you'll never be able to help other people.
That's what's going on in my life?
Listen. I'm just like, God, they say, 100's growth barrier, 250, 500,000. Right. I've hit every last one of them, man. I have not blown through any growth barrier.
I just feel like somebody's like, you are lying, because your growth trajectory seems astronomical and so abnormal that there are so many pastors out there just wishing.
Let me not be mean, but let me just help some pastors out, because there's some things I'm doing that they're not.
Okay. Talk to me about that.
This is a shameless plug. There's a chapter in the book.
Okay.
One of the biggest things that I see that I do that a lot of pastors don't is I take big risk. And I know how to take a risk.
Okay.
Like you will not accomplish anything great in your marriage, in your money, in raising without taking a leap of faith.
Yeah.
And leaps of faith, it's not foolishness, it's not presumption. It's perhaps I think God can do something great in this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a major step. So We had a church of 400 people 5 minutes outside of Baltimore City.
Right.
God told me to move it 35 minutes away, close to DC.
Right.
I didn't know if those people were coming, but we took that leap of faith. We launched a campus 35 minutes away, not knowing are people going to watch the message on live stream in a region that just doesn't have a lot of multi-site churches. Took that risk. And so there's a couple things. How do I take a risk?
Right.
You never take a risk that can result in bankruptcy.
Okay.
That's a big deal.
Somebody might want to write that down.
Listen, don't take a risk that'll cause you to lose everything. That's foolishness.
Right.
So for example, we would look to hire new staff, but our income wasn't to the place where we could afford the new staff. But I felt like, man, if I get this worship pastor, if I get this associate pastor, it's going to result in growth. So what do? We saved up a year of their salary and put it in savings.
Come on, man.
So even though our weekly income wasn't to the place to be able to cover their salary, we had their salary in savings.
Okay, I get it. So you're saying that you had it for a year so that it would allow you to step out in big faith.
Absolutely.
And then God would increase you to where the next year.
Yeah. And I mean, if someone's going to come, they're risking the income of their family on the vision that I say I have. It's irresponsible to ask somebody to take a risk with their family and you can't be assured that I'm going to be able to provide. Wow. So my deal was, I've got your salary, a year of it in savings.
Yeah.
If you don't produce growth in this church in the next year, it's a different conversation anyway. So
right.
You make so
amazing.
So that's one thought. Another thought is and that's wisdom.
Okay.
Don't ignore the peace of God.
Okay.
Godly counsel. Man, every time I've made a big risk, we've merged. Our church used to be Destiny Church, and we merged with I-5 City. Pastor Jimmy and Irene Rollins, salt of the earth, amazing people. When I tell you, I called so many spiritual father and mothers.
Yeah.
Do you have a peace about this? What do you think? Not just, so yes, we do have a peace about it. Okay, talk me through the process.
Right.
The step 1, step 2. So do you have a peace about this? Everybody thinks they're a genius and they want to do it without any
can we
wisdom.
park there for a moment? So you call other people?
Oh, yeah.
Because it just seems like, you're a grown man, you got your own business, you got your own family. Do I really need to call other people? But I think that's a principle that you live by.
If you want to be a train wreck, do it by yourself.
Okay.
But when you get around really successful people, you find out the best of the best are constantly bringing in wisdom all around you because a truly successful person understands I have an outrageous gifting in one area and I've got blind spots in all the other areas.
Come on, man.
Like nobody is outrageously gifted in every. If you're a strategist, you're probably not very empathetic.
Right.
Make sense? So you got the greatest game plan and your team hates you.
Right.
You've got to get somebody that can feel
Yeah.
the emotions of other people. Hey, let's soften this up, or let's.
So what would you suggest to a person who has those extreme sides, and that's why they're a great leader, but then they have extreme blind spots as well? You would staff the weakness, or what would
Don't be the emperor with no clothes. Like, be the leader that's correctable.
Yeah.
Allow the people you lead to say, hey, I think we're off on this.
Yeah.
Hey, I think we're missing.
Yeah.
So I demonstrate this for my staff, and I was kind of getting on them because they see me demonstrate them, but they're not picking up the example. We have 3 services on Sunday, so I preach 3 times a Sunday. After first service, I'll sit in front of the my executive pastors and all that in between. Okay, guys, what didn't land right? What needs to change?
Right.
What? And that's different, especially in our community. The man of God heard from God.
Right.
You don't ever correct
Right.
the message. That's what God said. No. 75% of the message, I'm trying to be generous. It's not that much. 75% of the message is God. And 25% of the message is Stephen.
Yeah.
And Stephen gets it wrong sometimes. What I think is a joke, sometimes it's a little harsh. And hey guys, did the jokes land well? Did I dance too close to the political line and I need to come back and say white people too much or black people too much?
Yeah. You said something about old people here recently, and I was like, okay, all right.
That's a little edgy. That's a little edgy.
A little edgy, but it's all right because you know how to clean it up.
Yeah.
You're a trained communicator.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So be coachable. I'll give you one last thing on taking risks.
Okay.
Understand the trajectory of a risk. I have an economics background and kind of the whole business world. And there's something in the economics world called the S curve. Now, if you're listening to this podcast, you're not going to be able to see it. If you're watching us, I'm going to kind of draw it. It's you launch a new product, you take a risk, you get married, you have a new kid or whatever it may be. And from that launch period, it's instantly diminishing returns.
Okay.
Like every time you launch something new, it's going to be bad.
Okay.
As in this new season, you're figuring it out. And after you're figuring it out, it bottoms out and then it begins to grow to a season of growth.
Yeah.
After the season of growth is exponential growth. Now we get excited because that's what we all want. We want to launch and then triple, double, and all that.
I don't feel like the story's over yet.
Come on. Here's what we don't know about exponential growth. Exponential growth always breaks systems.
Yeah.
Because the systems that we had were not built for exponential growth. They were built for the last season. So we're all partying about the growth, not realizing that we're about to plateau.
Right.
Because our system, and at the plateau period, if we don't take a new risk, change something and do another, then we start going into free fall. And here's what a lot of leaders do. When we go into free fall, we say that last risk didn't work. Let's go back to the last place that we felt safe.
That worked.
And that's called a doom loop.
Okay.
Where the second that risk feels tension, you abandon it, and you, instead of understanding all that growth broke my systems, I knew new systems, I need to take a new launch. So when you understand that, every leap of faith is not going to work out. I'm going to mess with you in the first 6 to 18 months. Like you launch a new campus, we merged with another church, whatever it may be. It won't be bad.
Right.
But you're not going to see the exponential growth for the first 16 to 18 months.
People need to hear that. Pastors need to hear that. Business leaders need to hear it. Yeah, and you feel like a failure, but you're just a part of a normal growth cycle.
Come on, you earn real estate. All these little Instagram real estate agents lying, talking about they were closing 250 deals from day one. No, you were not. Nobody trusted you back then.
Yeah.
But if you're not honest about the journey and the pain of your success, it discourages people that are started on their journey, because it's such a gap.
Yeah. So good, man. So good. So what's the spirit behind the message? If you had to give me one thing that's like, hey, this is what the main takeaway is. If I had to talk about one thing from my book, it would be what?
I'm like Jesus. Here's the two things. The one thing is this: stop playing it small. You're made in the image of God. And a great God can't make small people. Don't be ashamed. Here's the story of the book. James and John's mother comes to Jesus and said, can my son sit on your right and your left? Jesus never rebuked them for their ambition. He just rebuked them for wanting to do it the world's way. And he said, hey, you want to be great? Let me teach you how. Make yourself servants of all.
Come on.
So one, believe for greatness and nothing short of that, because that is the heart of God. And then two, don't wait for somebody to open a door for you. Don't wait for somebody to king you. God's giving you all the steps that you need to maximize the season that you're in.
That is rich. That is rich.
Come on.
Well, thank you, man. I think that was a blessing to me. And so, Stephen, you the man.
I love
one
you.
of the greatest leaders that I know, without question. I'm not saying that because you're my friend. Not saying that because you're right here or I paid you to say it. I'm saying
the check's in the mail.
It is true. And I want to thank you. And I want to encourage everybody who's watching this to grab hold of this book, Stop Waiting for Permission by Stephen Chandler, forward by John Maxwell.
Come on now.
You know it's good if John Maxwell put his name on
Listen,
things. So.
I'm grateful for him.
I love you, man. I love your family. Keep killing it. And thank you guys so much for tuning in to Doing Life with Ken and Tabitha. We'll see you soon.